What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility, and where I see things going. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that said, let's get right to it. So starting off with this upcoming week, Friday is going to be a very big day for the markets and as well with SoFi because of banks. Banks unveiling their earnings, so they're kicking off earnings season. I know SoFi is not a bank, but the market for the most part treats it as one. So dependent on the earnings of these companies such as JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Citi, so a lot of the big names, technically that is going to affect SoFi, no doubtably. So once again, that's something to kind of consider, but as far as data points, it's going to be a fun-filled, packed week, if that makes sense. So Wednesday, you do have CPI. Prior to Wednesday, it's going to be relatively quiet, so it is just going to be just Fed speakers as well as SoFi's technicals kind of playing a role. So I'm going to talk about SoFi's technicals after this, but Wednesday you do have CPI, you also have the FOMC meeting minutes. Thursday you have PPI, and like I said, just a lot of Fed speakers throughout the week. So there's going to be a hell of a lot of volatility across the whole week in general. And the fear and greed index as well is at 61. So people's appetite for risk is still there, despite a lot of the risks that's been coming out and the fears. But in general, if a good piece of news does come out dedicated and specific to SoFi, you could see a nice rush of institutions. And I just wanted to kind of bring this up, speaking on institutions for a second. So I did a video, I think it was on Friday, 2 o'clock, something like that. So I didn't really touch this, but there was a hell of a lot of abnormal transactions after hours on Friday, which who the hell is buying after hours on Friday? It just logically doesn't make sense. But big money was getting in. So 1.09 million, 1.7 million, 1.1, 9.16. So even though during the trading day it was somewhat lackluster, very quiet, as I even said in my video, after hours was very abnormal. So again, take that into consideration. SoFi, there isn't really anything planned for this upcoming week as far as conferences, data points, or anything like that. So it is just going to be, like I said, the external factors, such as the data points and whatever else, and companies unveiling their earnings, as well as SoFi's technicals. If data does come out, such as CPI, and it's very bad, then you are going to see short double down on SoFi, as what they've kind of been doing over this last little bit. Going into this upcoming week, 20.03% of the free float is being shorted. Utilization is 66.58, short score. So the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is 70.29. And then cost to borrow average is 1.17. Just to give you a good overview of what shorts have been doing over this last little bit, they have really increased. So you do see, I think it was around March the 15th, that is when they did have all-time highs for the short interest. Crazy stuff if you ask me, but something to kind of consider. If the data points, like I said, are wrong, you'll see shorts really get back in. So who knows, maybe their upcoming earnings, their Q1 earnings, could be a potential squeeze play or prompt a squeeze, but still something just interesting. SoFi is a very interesting play, as I've said in the past. Going into this upcoming week, looking at options. So with it closing above $7 and not above $7.50, you're going to see 3,000 in open interest get covered by market makers. 3,000 is absolutely nothing, so you're going to see absolutely no real kind of bump up first thing on Monday, which is unfortunate. And this is one thing that's really been, I guess, the basis of what SoFi has been struggling with is options, because market makers and or shorts are kind of one and among the same, right? So as you can kind of see, 28,000 at the 750 and then 23,000 at the 8, but all that did get expired, worthless. But you do have those walls. And so far going into this upcoming week, you already do see a wall around the $8 range. So again, SoFi is probably going to struggle to get above that, in my opinion, unless there is some good pieces of news coming out, or maybe banks hit a home run or something comes out of left field. But you do already see that very big wall at $8. But at the 750 strike price, you do see around 9,000 in open interest. So I wouldn't really say that's a crazy big wall, but still, dependent on what does happen on Monday, you could see, once again, SoFi really struggling with that as well. So SoFi's technicals have been looking somewhat optimistic. As you can kind of see, it is above or in the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band. Looking at stochastic, you do see a nice bullish deviation, so white line above the red. But if SoFi does continue on the status quo and does get to roughly around the 780 range, it no doubtably will get considered overbought and then obviously needing to pull back. So it's kind of, SoFi's stuck in a very interesting scenario. So I think a lot of people do generally know that SoFi should be going up, but there's been just a lot of external forces working against SoFi. And you do see a lot of posts on social media, just people kind of pointing out how SoFi has been lagging. And even my last 2 weeks, when I do these videos, last 2 weeks, I did say that SoFi is going to be flat. And literally, that is exactly how they did end over the last several weeks, is because just the level of manipulation that is really restricting SoFi from breaking out is far outweighing just any institutions willing to get in. Maybe their upcoming Q1 earnings is going to be that deciding factor, or maybe some FOMO kicking in, but still it is going to be a very interesting scenario. Looking at momentum shows number of retail investors have been getting in, so that's kind of a good thing. But like I pointed out as well, just the abnormal transactions on Friday could allude to something possibly that might be coming. Maybe a lot of these institutions are in the know and they know something is coming. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. But looking right here, as far as some support and resistance points with it at $7.40, it is trading between this pivot and this R1, which overall isn't all that bad, considering a lot of other growth stocks and spec plays are probably between this S2 and this S1. So SoFi is doing not all that bad. It has been really holding its gains. But overall, some points to really watch for this upcoming week is this pivot point of 735. You'll really want to watch for that to hold. Even though SoFi did have a couple sell-offs during last week, it didn't really touch this S1, at least I believe from Wednesday till Friday. So that definitely is a very strong support. So you'll want to watch for that to hold throughout the rest of the week. Again, depending on, for instance, if CPI on Wednesday is negative, you are going to see another sell-off that has happened time and time again. So that might be tested. So if you are looking at possibly buying some more, that might be a very good opportunity, but who knows? It's just a very fine line, because if SoFi does sell off, like I said, with the stochastic so high, you might see a even further and swift pullback associated to that. So in my opinion, because of the current wall that is right here and just a lot of the external factors that's happening across the board, I do feel that SoFi once again is going to be kind of lagging. So not really being able to get above this R1. So most likely it will be trading between this S2 and this S1 by the end of this week. So more of a pullback associated. I hope I am completely wrong about that, but most likely next week is where FOMO will start to kick in leading into their upcoming earnings, as what typically does happen. But I feel like right now the market is just not really seeing SoFi as a good value play. Despite SoFi constantly hitting home run earnings, I don't know, it's very unfortunate. As I've said in the past, I think a lot of people do really know that SoFi will be back in double digits sooner rather than later, whether it be second half of 2024 or something like that. But as it stands, it's missing that X catalyst to really push it higher. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Throw your comments or your, thoughts on where SoFi is going to be by the end of this week. Do you think it is going to be in the $8 plus? Do you think it's going to retrace to the sixes? Or do you think it's going to be kind of just stagnant from what it has been over the last couple of weeks? What's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Hopefully everyone's having an amazing weekend thus far. And with that, appreciate all of you watching.